Hello everyone, a big congrats to the recipients of this year's Hope Scholarship. I know what accomplishment this is, and after reading about you and your applications, I'm so impressed with what each of you has done and the bright futures that I know are ahead for you all. My name is Izaak Mendoza. I currently work in the brand management space and also serve as communications director for a nonprofit out in Washington, D.C. I've had a decade of experience in media production and have big goals of where I want to end up in life, but I've also had to be patient, seize opportunities and work my way across a very non-linear career path to end up where I am. Today, I have the honor of sharing some of my thoughts with you, and I want you to be able to walk away with a few things to focus on as you head off and start the bright futures that are before you. I think the first important part is to show you where I started and tell you a bit about all the places I went along my journey to this point. So as they say in the business world, let me walk you through my resume. I'm from Cheyenne, born and raised, and I'm very proud to have come from Wyoming. I went to Lephart and Bain Elementary, St. Mary's School, and graduated from East High. During that time, I felt pulled to video production, so I started that hobby and became a weekend floor director eventually for CBS News Channel 5 in high school and college. But I was also super into music, so I did all the bands: marching band, pep band, orchestra, jazz band, concert band, etc. From there, I went to the University of Wyoming. Why? Because of band. I didn't have the traditional experience of just 4 years in college and done. I changed my mind a few times about what I wanted to study and even took a break in between to pursue film school down in Colorado. But in total, I went to UW for 7 years and came out of it with a bachelor's in international relations and 4 minors: anthropology, religious studies, Spanish, and the university honors program. I also performed in the Western Thunder drumline every year. That's where I got my experience in leadership roles and ultimately where I met my wife. Heck, I loved it so much that I pursued it professionally and spent 3 years touring nationally with the Drum Bugle Corps from Denver. I was a conductor, or drum major as we called it, and it gave me not only more leadership experience and the chance to be the public face of an organization, but the dedication and discipline the marching arts taught me pushed me to consistently be raising my personal standards of excellence and help fuel the fire within me to reach for my dreams and to make them a reality. But drum corps in college cost money, and for a few years I got scholarships and grants and didn't have to take out too many student loans, but there at the end I did. And I worked to make ends meet. And although they weren't glamorous jobs, they do feed into the experiences that I've had and made me the person I am today. I worked for Wells Fargo as a bank teller. I worked as a server in the food industry. I worked for a food security nonprofit, even as a ramp agent at Denver International Airport. Each of those experiences helped me understand a little bit more about how the world works, and that helped me strategize where I wanted my future to go. Right, so I was fresh out of college, and I had an idea of where I'd like to end up one day as a foreign service officer for the U.S. government. But the road from here to there was really unclear, and I wanted to be closer where the action was. So I went to D.C. and worked in the U.S. Senate. I worked in the press office there for Senator Enzi, did some legislative research work as well. It's such an interesting dynamic because a place like Wyoming is so special, and people are friendly, and there's the code of the West, and people tend to live their lives by that. But it's important not to forget that there's also an incredible world out there that's so important to go see for yourself. Going to DC was so helpful in understanding the diversity of people, interests, job opportunities, schools of thought, everything. But my time in DC came to an end. My wife ended up getting her first teaching job in the least populated county of the least populated state. That's right, we moved to Lusk, Wyoming. Amazing community, but not necessarily a hub for international affairs or media. So I took a job in law enforcement and worked as a correctional peace officer for the Wyoming Women's Prison. I can tell you about the time that we had an epic flood. It shut down the power to the facility, including the ability to flush toilets. And I came with the innovative idea of using water from our tilapia fish farm we had in sight to create a makeshift plumbing solution using the water from that wastewater treatment facility until the National Guard relieved us from duty 30 hours later. But other than that, life at that job wasn't very exciting. I wasn't doing what I went to school for. I didn't have the job opportunities I wanted. And one day I had the spark inside of me that said, hey, reframe this situation. Instead of being a complete negative, what were the positives that came out of this work environment? I started to realize that this opportunity could teach me a lot about the brokenness of the criminal justice system, how to handle crises and de-escalate situations, and the realization that presence matters. My presence as an officer meant something, and it was about learning how to harness presence in other spots of my life, to which I ended up leaving the correctional facility and entered the education space for the local school district. I ended up teaching 3rd through 5th grade for the next couple of years. It was so great to be around the playful, curious energy of our kiddos and help guide them as they learned about the world around them, serving as a positive male role model for many of them in their lives. To skip ahead, it was time to go to graduate school and really pursue the next steps to get me to becoming a U.S. diplomat. I moved to Minnesota, where I knew no one, and pursued a dual master's degree. So a Master of Public Policy, focus in U.S. national security policy, and a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in strategic marketing. Knowing my love for knowledge, of course, I had a graduate minor in restorative justice practices. Life is going to hand you lemons at times. I wanted to pursue this dual degree because I saw, on one hand, how public policy worked towards advancing the common good. I also saw from my time in Lusk how business can be used as a force for good. But I didn't get accepted into the MBA program, only the policy program. And so I had to reapply a year later. And I did get in then, but failure is just part of the journey. It's not a bad thing. It's about how you recover from a failure, work through it, and become a better person because of it. So I started my studies at the University of Minnesota and ended up working at the state capitol for the Latino Affairs Council, one of the state agencies there in the Twin Cities. So I led communications for the agency, did short form video content through the legislative session, targeted campaigns to Latinos in greater Minnesota during the summer, and then grew the audience engagement on our social media platforms along the way. That then led me into a summer internship going back to DC, where I worked at the U.S. State Department in their Public Diplomacy Bureau, working on strategic campaigns in Latin America. I did the same type of graphic design, community management, video production type work there. And they ended up liking my work so much, I stayed on through the academic year and worked virtually while I continued my studies. I knew I had to take on some business work, not just policy, so I ended up leveraging my past experience in media and marketing and went into some brand management consultant work with the Schwann's company. That next summer, I ended up going to General Mills, and I worked on the Totino's Pizza Rolls business, a super fun brand. So I led the design of a new product there and did some competitive analysis work. But Schwann's had liked my work during business school, and they had a really great work culture there. So I pursued a full-time role with them at a graduation. Yes, I graduated in the middle of the pandemic. And so I've been working for Schwann's virtually for a year now. I'm a brand manager for the Red Baron Pizza Company, one of the brands in the Schwann's portfolio. So I lead the long-term innovation strategy, marketing campaigns, financial and supply forecasts, literally everything that goes into the day-to-day operation of a $900 million business. But I also know that I'm meant to work in a public service career. I have my eyes set on becoming a U.S. Foreign Service Officer. There's a test that you take each year to become a diplomat. It's really difficult. I've taken it 4 times. I've passed it 3 of those times, but there's still a multi-step process past that test, and I haven't made it through the whole process yet. But I'm still determined to. There's a network of people sort of in that same mindset around their career aspirations, a group called Young Professionals in Foreign Policy. I'm a part of that group. And a few months ago, I was tapped to start this new fellowship program called Public Policy New Voices. And it's all about getting students from underrepresented backgrounds into policy jobs. So we work with Disney and Netflix and Walmart and AT&T, a bunch of strategic advisory firms to help students build the skills to network and find mentorship and expose them to a variety of opportunities to consider as they build their careers. So for me, it's a work in progress. I've come a long way, but I know there's more to go to get to my end goal. But I've gotten really good at enjoying the journey along the way. And I know that all my experiences do feed into each other and help make me who I am. And I tell you all of this to show you how life can send you on the most complicated journey to get you to your goal. We think success is going to go from point A to point B in a straight linear line. But it's really about this collection of experiences and the common threads that weave them all together that get you through your journey. There's a handful of things that have really helped me that I wanted to pass along to you today and remind you of. 10 simple truths and principles that have helped me stay positive and moving towards my goals. I hope they're ones that you can hold on to and use in your future as well. The first is to find your people and advocates. Humans are social creatures, and when we go through new experiences, especially for those who are first-generation students, it's so important to find people that you connect well with and people who can walk along the path with you. For me, that was finding friends in band or the internships I had. In my studies, I always sat next to people who I thought were really smart or were really organized and had great answers in class. I watched them and learned from them best practices to adopt in my own life. Over time, I've built what I've called the circle of advisors, the dozen or so people who I know I can always turn to for advice or their thoughts on how to approach any problem I'm facing, whether it's personal or professional. Keeping close to the circle of advisors can help you stay on track with your goals, or they can help you think outside the box if you're too in your head. Surrounding yourself with people who make you better is just one of the best ways to always continue growing. Number 2, respond to life instead of reacting to it. There are those that live life by reacting to whatever happens to them. They don't get a job in the field they want, and so they complain and whine and live in negativity. There are also those that take an experience of, say, not getting that job and reframe the experience and strategize their next way in. It's about taking the time to not become reactive to things, but to remember that we have the agency to create the life we want. We generate our own response to the world. So you can react to life giving you lemons, or you can respond and create some pretty delicious lemonade. Next, seek to understand, then be understood. Something we don't do well as a society anymore is discuss openly and listen freely. We each have our own thoughts and opinions, which is good, but when we are communicating with others, we often listen and are already generating our response to them in our head instead of fully listening to them and being totally present. If we're really trying to learn from a diverse set of voices or have tough discussions, it's really important to try to first understand the other person before trying to make yourself understood to them. It's a skill that allows you to navigate conversations more fluidly and have greater influence in the long run. People appreciate when you're there to listen and fully listen. And if you show that effort, it's likely you're going to get that in return. And that's going to lead to stronger relationship building in both your personal and professional life. Number 4, presence matters. The way you display your authentic self to the world matters. Whether it's to your younger brothers and sisters or you're the leader of an organization, how you show up in daily life matters. Are you the person that's known for the smile that can break through the tension in a room? Do people recognize you for the stylish vests or classy earrings you always wear? How you show up can influence others, so be intentional and let your presence work for you while staying true and authentic to yourself. Number 5, be resilient. I mentioned earlier that I want to be in a diplomatic role one day, right, working to help solve global grand challenges, but I have to be patient. Resiliency is a wonderful attribute to build for yourself, especially for people of color and those that come from underrepresented backgrounds. Resiliency is so important in breaking through and persevering through all the roadblocks that seem to get in the way. The way I've kind of thought about it is try to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Change is constant, and the more we can step outside our comfort zones and practice resiliency, the more we're going to be able to endure, and that's really valuable in today's world. Next, don't should all over yourself. You're going on to the next exciting chapter of your life. You're going to see people your friends studying certain things or taking jobs in certain fields, and you may be like, maybe I should be doing that. Maybe I should be going to that school. Maybe I should already be at this certain level, or I shouldn't have taken that class in high school. No more with the should. It doesn't do anything for you to compare yourself in that way. Not everyone's path is similar, and that's okay. And just remember that you just need to do what's right for you. Number 7, build your network. When you're in business school, you go to school Monday through Thursday all day, and then network with other people in the evenings. They give you all Friday off to do more networking. So why is this? An interesting reality about the world is that it's often not about what you know, but really who you know. Building relationships with people can lead to opportunities down the road. And networking is simply just meeting new people, asking good questions, and letting them know what you're interested in. Sometimes that's reaching out to someone who has a job that you're interested in, saying, hey, what's your daily life like? That way you can see if it's actually a job that you can see yourself doing day to day. Or seeing if you know anyone who has a job opening for graphic design or an apprentice program or even scholarship opportunities. In college, I networked as much as I could and told folks what I was interested in doing. That I needed help figuring out how to pay for life while I was going to school. And that networking I did with school leaders led me to find some part-time gigs doing media work for my actual school, and that helped pay bills while I was in graduate school. Just don't underestimate the power of networking. It's crazy how you sometimes have to be super competitive just to get a job interview when you're in a pool of candidates. But if you know the right people, they can sometimes really help you get where you want to be a lot faster. Number 8, remember to celebrate the little things. Life is an opportunity to pursue your goals and go be great, but it's the little moments in day-to-day life that really matter when you look back on it. Just think back to high school. Was it the fact that you successfully completed every course that means the most? To some, maybe, but to a lot of you, I'm guessing it was the times you had with your friends, the debate tournament you won, or the band performance you poured your heart into, the late-night Taco John's hangouts. It's those moments that are really meaningful, and it's important to remember to create those as you go off into the future and pursue your dreams. Number 9, be intentional. One of my favorite sayings is release tension, set intention. Before I go into a meeting or just even a hangout with somebody, I always say to myself, release tension, set intention. And with this, I try to be mindful of releasing any tension I have from my day into the meeting or even the hangout. Maybe I got rear-ended earlier, or the dude messed up my sandwich order at lunch. But I don't want all that to affect me in my day, so I take a breath and let it all go. And then I set the intention for the interaction I want to have in the meeting or with my friends in a hangout. I intentionally want to enjoy their company and make memories together, or I want to be intentional about the questions I ask or how I come off in a job interview. Thinking ahead and setting intention can be really helpful for your daily life. Intention matters. People care when you care. And when you take the time to declare in your mind what you want, even in something as small as a hangout with your friends, it can really have really powerful effects. The last one I have for you. Don't forget where you came from. You all have someone who has helped you along the way to where you're at now. And as you grow, it's important to look back, give appreciation, and help others where you can. For me, being a first-generation student, I had to figure out the whole college process and grad school process on my own. And it's important to me to help those who I can, who may be in that same position, and hopefully they'll be able to get through things easier than I did and then go on to accomplish more. It's a cycle of helping one another. And as a Hispanic community, we want to see our community grow and influence the world in positive ways. And remembering where we come from helps us stay true to that. So, the future is now. Not only as we exit this COVID environment that we've been living in, but for all of you who take the next steps in your journey. To each of you, good luck, and I hope that something I've talked about today resonated with you. Please feel free to reach out and let me know how I can be helpful as you walk into the next phase of your life. It's an exciting time, so have fun. Go get your goals. To the parents, educators, loved ones in the room, your support to these young leaders is the reason they're sitting in the room today. This day also celebrates the work that you've done to help get them to this point, and I'm sure you're all very, very proud. I apologize I couldn't be there in person to give this message, but I'm really thankful for the opportunity to reach you virtually today. And once again, congratulations to the recipients of the 2021 Hope Scholarship. The future is now.